And welcome back, everyone. I got a lot of videos to do today. That's why I'm going to fall behind one day. But coming us from King of Trolls 36 comes Alucard versus Lucy. I don't know. I really didn't watch Elfen Lead, but I've done Lucy enough times to really do this. No problem. Lucy Elfen Lead. I am just going to have her info on hand just in case. So this fight, like a lot of Alucard fights, does fall into a category of fights where I call it a battle of attrition fight. Now, obviously, Alucard is an elder statesman of this channel at this point. I can do his background in my sleep. But Vlad Tepes, he is Dracula. He basically drank blood after being forsaken by his god and being, I believe it was slayed by the Turks. I believe that's who he was captured by. And then he turned into Dracula. He turned into a vampire. And as such, he is the king of vampires. He is much stronger than your average vampire. Being able to survive in sunlight, basically having really none of their actual weaknesses except for the stake to the heart. That's Adam Sandler to put it in Hotel Transylvania. Yeah, who wouldn't die from that? But he has centuries worth of experience as a master marksman, swordsman. He is capable of hypnotizing, possessing. Technically doesn't possess, but he can hypnotize you, do what he needs. Summon the Hound of the Baskerville. He is capable of manipulating his body in many ways because his body isn't really physical. It's not flesh and blood. It's made technically of like a blood-like ethereal black energy, which is still pretty cool. He obviously has release states, restraint level 1 through 2 or 3 through 1. Puts him in a leather outfit, increases his physical capabilities immensely. Again, summoning the Hound of the Baskerville. Release level 0 to reveals his true form as Vlad the Impaler, or Vlad Tepes, Dracula. And he summons all the souls that he has contained to fight on his behalf and defend on his behalf, which, when the Battle of London happened, was around 2 million-ish. He is immensely hard to kill. We know that for a fact because he even after he got tricked to summon a paradoxical quantum being, he still didn't die, and he negated his own non-existence. This is because, and it's pretty much stated at this point. I mean, it's never flat out directly said, but it is stated at this point by most people, I think, including the creators, that basically every time he consumes blood, he's consuming someone's soul, and he stores those souls in his body. And every time he takes a lethal hit, if his own regeneration can't handle it, that soul takes the hit and he just comes back from it. It is a hacked as hell level of regeneration. Lucy is what's known as a Deinonychus. I believe that's how it's pronounced, by the way. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe it's. I've never actually heard it said, but a Deinonychus. In fact, she is a Deinonychus queen. And what Deinonychuses essentially are, and Lucy is the split personality of it being known as Kid, because she is basically tortured by humans, turned into a weapon, and then that goes tits up. But anyway, basically, Deinonychuses are kind of an offshoot of humanity to some degree. I could look up what they are exactly. Elfen Lead lore is not really my forte, but I do know enough about Lucy to really do her properly, or at least how I think properly. And I'll get the people who say, "You didn't do it right. Stop it. Stop reading the computer." But side note, I had someone say that they commented on a video I did, and look, what's the best way for me to put this? I got no problem if someone hates what I do. No problem whatsoever, believe it or not. If someone voices that they don't like what I do, that's fine. But don't pretend to be trying to not be rude when you're being rude. I had someone basically say, you can tell this guy's not reading off screen, he's reading off the computer, which I flat out state I do. And say, no offense, but I kind of hate this guy. Which, first off, if you're hating someone for just reading off a computer, go F yourself. Like, I don't like telling people what to do, but, like, I will tell people how I think is, like, I will respond in kindly, like, go F yourself. If that's something that you hate a person for, and you hate, like, hate is a very strong word. But then you're like, no offense, but I hate this guy. You don't use no offense when you say you hate someone. You say, no offense, but I'm not really a fan of what you're doing here, here, and here, and here. You say no offense because you don't want the person to actually take offense about what you're about to say, but you still want to voice what you disagree with them about. That's how you use that term. You don't say, no offense, but I hate you. Like, I'm not offended. I'm more irked by the lack of thought. That's what I am. I am more annoyed that this human comments. That's what annoys me. I digress. So anyway, yeah. Essentially, they are human hybrid beings. Not necessarily hybrids per se, but I'm trying to find the actual terminology here for what exactly a Diconicus is. But in essence, they are an offshoot of humanity at any rate. Okay, Deinonychus. Okay, there we go. Diclonicus, my bad. Diclonicus is a species from Elfen. They are an evolutionary offshoot of humanity. I was right. It emerged in the late 21st century, 20th century, through one group falsely believed to be part of an ancient times. They are noted to have small horns that are meant to resemble elf ears, but look like cat ears due to art errors in the manga on both sides of their head. They also possess powerful capabilities with molecular cutting force manifesting as mostly invisible arms called vectors. So basically, yeah, that's what she is, an offshoot of humanity. By all accounts, they're mostly human, but they're genetically different. They can still breed with humans, and honestly, they can pass on the Diclonicus gene, and basically cause it to just expand and more people to become Diclonicuses. But Lucy is a psychopath. Kate is actually very nice and new. I think it's new is the actual personality of, or at least one of the personalities. But Lucy herself is actually kind of a psychopath, a very cold-blooded individual, very cold-blooded killer, ruthless. And as stated, her main weapon of use is her vectors, these invisible telekinetic arms that can attack on the molecular level and wreak all kinds of havoc. She only had a couple to begin with, but she had dozens by the end of the series, and they were capable of blocking bullets. They were capable of literally just tearing people apart, even going all at once and causing a massive island-level explosion. Now, granted, I believe using that much power at once was very damaging on her body. I remember a panel where she was melting because her body just couldn't handle it. But no, it's extremely powerful. But she is not without weakness. If you damage those horns, she's in trouble. I don't believe if you damage a horn, she dies. But if you do damage a horn, it weakens a Diclonicus very much. Maybe to the point of death, or at least to the point where they can't do anything. But beyond that, despite how powerful the vectors are, they are extremely powerful. She's not really any more durable than a normal human. I think she can recover a little faster than a normal human, but she doesn't have a healing factor per se. Maybe just advanced recovery abilities. But even then, she could still be killed by a stray bullet. If a bullet hit her in a vital area, it would still kill her. It's just her vectors get in the way. So in a fight like this, like I said at the beginning, this is a battle of attrition kind of fight. What I mean by that is this. Alucard, if he gets one good hit in, she's in trouble. Straight out. He gets one shot with the Jackal off or the Castle, she could be dead. Because those are designed to kill regenerators like Anderson, or at least tackle him. Literally blew out Anderson's arm. A guy who can regenerate, and he couldn't regenerate. So that's what they're designed for. And against a normal human body, if he hit her in the shoulder, that arm's gone. She's bleeding out. Maybe she could stop the bleeding with her vectors, but she's in trouble then. Or if he stabs her with a sword, or if he, grabs her neck and starts drinking her blood, or snaps her neck, or whatever. But this is all predicated on the idea that he'd be able to hit her. And that's where the battle of attrition comes, because those vectors are insanely tough and insanely durable. And Alucard, unfortunately, does not have a clear-cut way to actually overpower or get through those vectors. His guns, those things can block gunfire, no problem. His sword, when he goes into his true form, doesn't really matter at all. She could block that, no issue. Honestly, the vectors could, even if he swarmed her with the millions of souls he has in his body, her vectors would just literally just start cleaving through them, no matter what. She couldn't be overwhelmed in a traditional sense that way. Now, granted, she has limits like anyone else, but I imagine she could cleave through the majority of them, easy, without too much difficulty. Even if she decides to do the explosion, the island's level explosion, she could wipe out the vast majority of them without an issue. But at the same time, Alucard literally has millions and millions of extra lives that he can just, it gets sliced in half, comes back, sliced in half, comes back. He can manifest into shadows. He can manipulate He has extrasensory senses. So she's going to have a hard time putting him down permanently because he's just going to get back up. And hypothetically, if we're using Schrodinger Alucard, then all he has to do is not be seen by her, and he just keeps coming back. Remember, as long as something is unobserved, it is both alive and dead when you're existing in a quantum state of flux, basically, when you're a Schrodinger, which is what Alucard ultimately became. Now, allegedly, he can't use his vampire abilities, and for the sake of argument, I'll say that's true. Granted, this statement came from the Major. Mind you, the Major thought he had just straight up beaten Alucard, and Alucard just said, yeah, no, I'm just going to spend 30 years negating my unexistence. So, take what the Major says with a grain of salt. That's the thing. Everyone's just like, this. Like, you realize this came from a guy who thought he actually beat Alucard, right? And didn't. So, maybe his info wasn't 100%, but that's the info we got there. I wouldn't use Schrodinger Alucard anyway, though. So, yeah, in a battle of attrition, is one of these guys going to get the upper hand over the other? And this comes down, I think, to experience and tactics, ultimately. While Lucy is very intelligent, she's still very simplistic in how she uses her, very basic in how she uses her abilities. Cleaving, chopping, cutting, whatever. Alucard, however, does have centuries worth of battle experience. He is also capable of doing things with his body that Lucy is not. Again, melding into shadow, literally turning into living shadow if he wants to. He could, in theory, literally sneak up behind her as a shadow and pop her. Similar to what he would try to do to Walter, except Walter saw it coming. The question would just be if Lucy would see it coming. I think in a battle of attrition, ultimately, especially if Alucard starts to overwhelm her with bodies, that Alucard could probably get the kill shot on her when he absolutely needs to. I say that because even though she can take on mass hordes, she still has to focus on those mass hordes. Like, honestly, she still has to more or less have an awareness of her surroundings. Like, if an individual is being quiet or she can't sense them or anything like that, then they're going to be able to get the drop on her. Those arms don't have eyes or anything like that. She still has to direct those eyes. Now, they may react on their own will as well to some degree, but still. Alucard, I think, is harder to put down in the sense that his body is just literally different. So I think between his years of experience, understanding tactics, figuring out weak points, maybe he could try to put her under hypnosis too. And frankly, that could probably work because we know she's been brainwashed before. So, yeah, I would lean towards Alucard in this fight. I would. I think, though, like I said, it's a battle of attrition, and there is certainly avenues where if she just outlasts his ass, she'll win. I think he's going to get the majority of them, though. And again, it comes down to his body. His body is different. It can learn to melt the shadow, all that. Tactics, he's experience. He's literally has multiple weapons on him at all times. Shape-shifting, all that. I think, and hypnosis, too. I think enough of that comes into play where he can take the win against her. This is just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Later.